Constructing and analyzing box plots. Range is a measure of the spread of a data set. You calculate range by taking the upper extreme and subtracting the lower extreme. The upper extreme is the greatest value in a data set, and the lower extreme is the least value in a data set. When the data set has an outlier, the range is not the best measure of spread. A better measure of spread is the interquartile range. Interquartile range, or IQR, is a measure of the spread of the middle 50% of a data set. You calculate IQR by taking the Q3 and subtracting the Q1. The Q1 is the first quartile, and that is the median of the lower half of a data set. The Q3 is the third quartile, and that is the median of the upper half of a data set. Interpreting the IQR. When the IQR is small compared to the median, the data is not variable, or meaning it's close together. When the IQR is large compared to the median, the data is variable or spread apart. A box plot is a graph above a number line that shows the lower and upper extremes, first and third quartile, and the median of a data set. It is also known as a box and whisker plot. So this is what a box plot looks like. In the middle, you have the box, and on either side, you have a whisker. This point is the lower extreme. On the left side of the box is the first quartile. The line within the box represents the median. The right side of the box is the third quartile. And the last point is the upper extreme. The box contains the middle 50% of the data. The left whisker contains the lower 25% of the data. And the right whisker contains the upper 25% of the data. Calculating outliers. An outlier is any data point more than 1.5 IQRs below the first quartile or above the third quartile. To calculate outliers, you'll take the Q1 and subtract 1.5 times the IQR, and then you'll take Q3 and add 1.5 times the IQR. Examples. Example 1. Calculate the range and the interquartile range for the data listed below. And then, does it look like this data set contains an outlier? Explain. Okay, so in order to calculate the range and interquartile range, it would be best for us to put the numbers in order from least to greatest first. So 10, 12, 12, 14, 16. Missed one, so take that off. Got my 15. So 15. 15 and then 16. 17. 18. 19. And 20. So definitely cross your numbers out as you go. That way that you can make sure that you include every number. Okay, so now that we have our data listed in order from least to greatest, we can see that we calculate our range by taking the upper extreme and subtracting the lower extreme. So the upper extreme is 20, that's our biggest number. And our lower extreme is 10, that's our smallest number. So our range equals 10. Okay, Let's go ahead and look at identifying the IQR, or the interquartile range. That is calculated by doing the Q3 minus the Q1. Now, in order to find the IQR, we have to first find the Q3 and the Q1. So the first thing that we'll have to do is find our median. So I like to do this by working my way inward one by one until I get to that middle number. So we see that we have two numbers in the middle. Remember, when you have two numbers in the middle, you have to find the average of those two numbers. And that would be 15.5. Now, what I'm asking you to do is, once you find the middle of a data set, draw a line through it. Draw a line through that median. That way we can equally split our data in half. And now we see that half of our data is right here, and the other half of our data is right here. Now, to find the Q1, we have to find the median of this first half of data. So again, let's work our way inward. 1, 1, 2, 2. And we see that our Q1 is 12. Let's do the same over here. 1, 1, 1, 1. This would be our Q3 because it's the median of the upper half of the data. So now back to calculating our IQR. Let's plug these things in. The Q3 is 18 and the Q1 is 12. 18 minus 12, the IQR equals 6. Okay, now lastly, we have to see, does it look like this data set contains an outlier? Explain. So we know to find an outlier, we're going to take our Q1 and we're going to subtract 1.5 times the IQR. So our Q1 is 12 minus 1.5 times our IQR, which is 6. And after we put this in our calculator and calculate this, where is my calculator? Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. All right, so 12 minus 1.5 times 6, we get 3. And let's do the same thing with the other. So we know that we also have Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. Our Q3 is 18 plus 1.5 times 6, and that is going to equal 18 plus 1.5 times 6, 27. So basically, in order to have an outlier, our number would have to be smaller than 3 or greater than 27. So to answer our question, does it look like this data set contains an outlier? We'll say no. And to explain, because no number in this data set is less than 3 or greater than 27. Example 2. The data below show the number of miles that members of a running club ran last week. Create a box plot to display the data, then find the interquartile range of the data. Okay, let me go to this slide so that I have more room. So in order to create a box plot, we'll need 5 numbers. The lower extreme, the Q1, the median, Q3, and upper extreme. Now, we see that our numbers are already in numerical order, so we don't have to order them first. Now, I can go ahead and identify my lower extreme as 4 and my upper extreme as 30. And let's go ahead and find the median. So I'm going to work my way inward until I get to the middle, and that middle will be my median. So we see that 10 is our median because it's our middle number. Now remember to draw a line through that median so that we know we're not using that when it comes to calculating our Q1 and our Q3. So this is our first half of data and our second half of data. So to find our median of the first half of data, which is our Q1, we'll work our way inward, and we see that we have two numbers in the middle. So to find the median, we'll find the average of those numbers. And that comes out to be 7. So our Q1 is 7. Let's do the same over here. We have two numbers in the middle. Find the average of those numbers, and that comes out to be 16. So our Q3 is 16. Now to do our box plot, we just need to create a number line. So I'm just going to go count by twos, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. Okay, and I got a little extra room, so I can take that off. Okay. All right, so after you do your number line, you just need to put a point to represent each of these values above the number line. So here's 4, 7, 10, 16, and 30. The first two points are joined together, and the last 2 points are joined together. This middle is where you create your box, and then you just draw a line through where the median is. So this is our lower extreme, Q1, median, Q3, and upper extreme. Now we're not done because we also need to find the interquartile range. Remember, the IQR equals the Q3 minus the Q1. So our Q3 is 16, our Q1 is 7. So our IQR is 9.